Welcome back. Good Thursday morning, everybody. Thanks very much for joining us this morning. I'm Maria Bartiromo, and it is Thursday, August 10th. It is 8 a.m. on the button on the East Coast. President Biden snapping at Fox News' Peter Doocy yesterday when asked about his involvement in his son's business transactions.
There's this testimony now where one of your son's former business associates is claiming that you were on speakerphone a lot with them talking business. Is that what?
Never talk business to anybody. And I knew you'd have a lousy question.
Well, why is that a lousy question?
Because it's not true.
This as the House Oversight Committee released new Biden family bank records showing that the Bidens took in at least $20 million from countries such as Russia, Kazakhstan, and Ukraine. The GOP memo shows a day after a Kazakhstani businessman sent Hunter more than $142,000. Hunter then bought a Porsche for the exact same amount of money. Also tracking is a Russian oligarch's $3.5 million check, which was sent to Hunter Biden Devon Archer's shell company. Then Vice President Joe Biden had dinner with both the Kazakhstani businessman and the Russian oligarch who sent the money in 2014 and 2015. Joining me right now is Kentucky Congressman, Chairman of the House Oversight Committee, himself, James Comer. Mr. Chairman, always a pleasure. Thanks very much for being here this morning.
Good morning, Maria.
You released new information this week. Can you walk us through what was most important from your standpoint in terms of this new data dump?
Well, we found more bank records that show the Bidens continue to rake in millions of dollars from our adversaries around the world, much of it while Joe Biden was vice president. Remember, just a few months ago, the president and the media were telling us that, number one, no money ever transferred to Biden's while Joe Biden was vice president. That was false, and false in a big way. Said that his family never received money from China. That was false. We've proven that false with their bank records. And he said he never communicated with any of the people who were wiring his family the millions and millions of dollars. And that was probably the biggest lie of all, Maria. That's what we proved with the Devon Archer transcribed interview. Joe Biden communicated with every single person that sent his family money, even going so far as to having dinner with them. And that's just what we know about. I think that as we bring in more people who were in on the fight, the influence peddling schemes, I think we'll find more communication with Joe Biden. But we've already found more than enough to prove that he has lied to the American people over and over again.
Well, I mean, the money that the family has apparently taken in from China and Russia are particularly concerning, given that he is in charge of policy. I mean, we've been sending Ukraine, tens of billions of dollars now for so long, ever since Russia invaded Ukraine. And the Ukrainian prosecutor general, who replaced Viktor Shokin because of pressure from then Vice President Joe Biden, reportedly had ties to both Hunter Biden and Burisma, lobbyists. The Washington Examiner is reporting the State Department emails show the Obama administration's believed Burisma's chief executive had almost certainly paid a bribe to Shokin's predecessor to shut down an investigation, Congressman. What can you tell us about this, and can you tie this to policy decisions that Joe Biden is making?
Well, certainly when you look at as I've mentioned before, 6 policy decisions Joe Biden made that we feel were made because of money that his family took in. Firing the prosecutor in Ukraine is at the top of the list. Look, he's already admitted he did it. He bragged about it. That's on video. We know from the testimony from Devon Archer a few weeks ago that the Burisma executives were pressuring Hunter Biden to call D.C. to do something about this prosecutor. 4 days later, then Vice President Joe Biden gets on a plane and goes to Ukraine and threatens to hold up foreign aid in exchange for terminating the special prosecutor who was investigating the corrupt energy company that was paying his son millions and millions of dollars. We also know that the FBI had that 1023 form that alleged that Joe Biden took a bribe from that same company. So there's overwhelming evidence that Joe Biden was very involved in that policy decision, because one of the bank records that we disclosed yesterday showed that his son received over $3 million from this Burisma. And remember, Maria, in that Form 1023, the oligarch brags that it would take investigators 10 years to unravel all the different money that he sent the president's son and the president because they sent it through so many different bank accounts and so many different shell companies. Now, remember, we've already proven that the Biden family has at least 20 shell companies. Even the money that was sent from the Kazakhstan to Hunter Biden for the car was sent to a shell company. I mean, this is a pattern that the Bidens have done to hide the source of the revenue and then to deceive the IRS so they wouldn't pay taxes. If it's not bad enough that the president's family has been involved in a pay-to-play scheme, on top of everything else, they didn't pay a penny of taxes, according to the IRS whistleblowers, on the over $20 million that they received from our enemies around the world.
Unbelievable. Have you presented all of this to Joe Biden? Have we gotten any answers from Joe Biden? I mean, he has said many times, including to Peter Doocy, that he has no knowledge of any of these transactions or business deals, never talked business with Hunter Biden. Shouldn't we be able to hear an answer from the Bidens, given all of your reporting? I mean, it's been nearly 2 months since the House Oversight Committee obtained that FBI whistleblower document accusing President Biden and Hunter Biden of taking a $5 million bribe each from Burisma. Newsbusters is now reporting that ABC, CBS, and NBC have not spent a single second covering this explosive allegation that, in fact, a sitting vice president accepted a bribe from executives of Burisma. $5 million to Joe, $5 million to Hunter. Congressman, are you going to present this with Joe Biden and ask for answers? Are you going to subpoena Hunter Biden? They had Don Jr. under oath during the Trump administration, and they asked him all sorts of questions about what we understood at the end of the day to be a lie about Russia collusion.
Yeah, this is always going to end with the Bidens coming in front of the committee. We are going to subpoena the family. I mean, we're putting the case together to win in court. Obviously, with all the opposition and obstruction we're getting from the Biden attorneys now, we know that this is going to end up in court when we subpoena the Biden. So we're putting together a case, and I think we've done that very well. We've shown the bank records. If I had subpoenaed Joe and Hunter Biden the first day I became chairman of the committee, it would have been tied up in court, and the judge would have eventually thrown it out, because at that time the narrative was, well, they never took any money while he was vice president. He never had any communication with his business associates, and the money never came from China. We've had to go every step of the way and prove the media narrative was wrong, and the vice president and the current president lied. We have caught Joe Biden in so many lies, I can't even count the number of lies now. So we have put together a case that I think would stand up in any court of law in America, and we hope to hear from the Biden soon. But I wish the media would ask the president, what exactly did your family do to receive this $21 million that the House Oversight Committee has proven? He just continues to say, well, that's a lie. That's not true. We have their bank records, Maria.
Right.
Bank records don't lie.
Congressman, when are you expecting to subpoena Joe and Hunter Biden?
Well, we want to talk to about 3 or 4 more associates first. We've been communicating with a couple of them. We're trying to bring them in just like we did Devin Archer for a transcribed interview. If they don't come in voluntarily, then they'll be subpoenaed. So this is taking a lot longer. But if you look at how the special counsel, Durham or other special counsels conducted investigations, I think our committee is going a whole lot faster than any other congressional committee in history and any other special counsel. Yeah. This is a complicated case, and we're being obstructed every step of the way by the Department of Justice, by the FBI, by the Secret Service, by the IRS, and by the Biden family attorneys. Wow. But that's not stopping us. We continue to produce evidence about every 2 weeks.
Well, we would not know any of this without your work. So thank you for exposing all of this. Have you been able to identify more policy decisions that Joe Biden made to placate these foreigners for giving him money? I mean, I'm trying to get to the fact of what exactly he's being paid for. And I understand it may be in some cases that it's just influence. You know, him writing a letter to Devin Archer saying, oh, I'm sorry I couldn't get to you sooner. I had to, host the president of China in that letter that he sent to Devin Archer. But thanks for working with Hunter. Great to see you. Hope you enjoyed the lunch. There's the letter right now on fancy vice presidential stationery. What are the decisions that he made that perhaps he got paid for in addition to the Shokin prosecutor firing?
Well, one of the documents that we released yesterday showed a $3.5 million payment from a Russian oligarch. And then when Russia invaded Ukraine, the president was quick to put sanctions on all the Russian oligarchs except one, the one person who sent his family $3.5 million. So that would be hard to explain. We would like to ask the president why he didn't put the sanctions on the wife of the former mayor of Moscow who sent his son $3.5 million.
Wow.
And we cited that bank transfer in our memo yesterday. That's a pretty big decision that I believe you could make a strong argument Maria was made because his family took the money. That's the only oligarch that was left off the sanctions list.
Is there any defense for a sitting president? He could just stonewall you, right? I mean, is there any precedent that you're putting a sitting president under oath in a hearing? Do you think he actually come in and speak to you?
It's very difficult. You know how hard the Democrats tried to get Donald Trump. So this is very difficult. This has been an uphill battle from day one. That's why our strategy was always to follow the money. I think the Biden lawyers thought we would go in and subpoena the Biden bank accounts on day one and they could tie it up in court. But what we did, we had identified the shell companies and we started subpoenaing the shell companies. So they've had to scramble. Now they're making it harder and harder to get bank records on the shell companies. They're threatening the banks.
Wow.
They're threatening the people that were whose names were on some of those shell companies along with the Bidens. I mean, the amount of obstruction that we're seeing on a daily basis in this case is very disturbing. I know everyone's concerned about the DOJ giving Hunter Biden the sweetheart plea bargain deal. And yes, that is an example of the weaponization of the federal government. But what we're seeing every day behind the scenes from the Department of Justice, from the FBI, from the Biden attorneys, and from the Democrats on the House Oversight Committee should make every American sick at their stomach. Because I think the one thing that we all agree on, whether we're conservative or liberal, is that we oppose public corruption. And what we're seeing every day is public corruption in this White House, pay-to-play schemes where the president tries to use plausible deniability that he didn't have any knowledge. He just talked to all these people about the weather and, had dinner and talked about the filet mignon and not the policy. I don't think any American would believe that.
Yeah, and that's why it was stunning to hear your colleague Dan Goldman make such a pronouncement the other day. Congressman, we're following your work very closely. We so appreciate your leadership here. Thanks very much.